Hello and welcome to our next guide on the painting of Sigvald. Last time we did the armor in non-metallic gold and added a bunch of ambiental reflections on it to make it more interesting. Today we're going to be doing the face and the shield. So let's work with the face first. I'm going to be wearing my glasses and we're going to get started. I will be starting from two simple colors. I'm going to be using burnt red from AK and also beige red from AK. So burnt red, there we go. Beige red, there we go. So with these two colors we can start our skin tone mix. Gonna be adding them together. So beige red with burnt red. I'm gonna be adding a tip of black, just a bit of black to desaturate. Like this, a bit more red, and we're good. So this is our base coat. So let's base coat our skin tone with this color. Always keeping the paint kind of thin when working on skin tones, especially on faces. That's because faces tend to have details sculpted in them much thinly than most other areas of a model, which means that you can clog details if you aren't careful enough. The base of Hull Red that we sprayed with the airbrush is already helping. Of course, if you don't have an airbrush, you don't have to do it. You can just base coat like I'm doing here. The Hull Red was there mostly to speed up the process of painting the gold. We don't need it for other details. Okay, with our base coat achieved, let me see if I can zoom in. Hopefully I won't go off camera. Okay, with our base coat achieved, we can add more beige red to our mix. And we can sketch in our mid-tone, which is gonna pretty much entirely cover the forehead. Except the sides there, because the horns are there, so it would be cool to create more contrast against the horns. I'm gonna be base coating the eyes. As well, keep the paint thin. Keep the paint thin. Clean the brush on a paper towel. You don't want to have too much paint on the brush. We can do the nose. Okay. I should be in camera. I should have been in camera, I think, while I was doing this. I am in camera now. So just gonna make sure I get full coverage out of this, directing the paint towards the light, because since I'm working with thin paint, might as well give it a direction that already blends it. There we go, like that. Now with pure beige red, We can highlight once more, so we can do the top of the forehead. Again, keep the paint thin. You don't want to make a mess. Keep the paint thin, clean the brush on a paper towel. Give it time to dry as you place it. Skin tone are serious business. You can see that I am letting the paint dry and I am reinforcing it as we go. I'm not trying to achieve full coverage immediately, right? I'm just gently placing the paint and I'm being patient with this. I usually am not a very patient painter, but with faces, you gotta be patient. Otherwise, you're not gonna get a very good result. So just thinly painting the face in. And then we can add sunny skin tone to our beige red to create another highlight. And we can paint it in. Again, thinning it. I'm thinning it and I'm cleaning the brush on a paper towel. I'm tapping the brush a few times on a paper towel before taking it to the model. I want to get any excess paint off so the paint is smooth and goes on smoothly on the model. I'm not painting the sides of the nose, I'm keeping them in shadow. He has a pretty big nose. And trust me, I'm an expert when it comes to big noses. So I can paint them really well. But yeah, we're just placing the light around the eye. On the nostrils, but we're keeping the sides of the nose fairly dark. We do want the nostrils to be lit. The chin, and only the chin. I'm not taking this highlight very much further because his face is kind of bent down. So I want to suggest more shading there. I want him to look a bit more evil. He is, after all, a beautiful man, but he's also extremely evil. He's actually my favorite character in the Warhammer lore. And this guy is a badass, but he's also one of the most evil person in the whole Warhammer universe. So we want to make sure that some of that evil seeps through all of this beauty that we have. Okay, we can paint the top of the eyelids with this color. Very important because they are sculpted very sharply on this model here. So they need to be lit up properly. Like so. And now, by thinning our sunny skin tone into literal oblivion, we can start basically dotting it around and push the lights a bit more. So with pure sunny skin tone, we can do the tip of the nose. We want these highlights to be very small, so take your time, be patient. Don't overdo it. Use the tip of the brush and just place minuscule dots of paints to create your highlights. Don't do a brush stroke. So we can do the tip of the chin. Like that. Okay, we can go back to the previous highlights because I want to highlight the top of the mouth a bit more. I don't need the super strong highlight we just used, but I do want to have a bit more light on the top of the mouth. Okay, and we can go back to our base coat color, add even more red to it, and basically the ice yellow we used. We can glaze this one onto the lips to make them look kind of pinkish, right? Because he's a Slaanesh character, so we need to make sure that even the smallest things about his face work. Let me zoom in so you can see it and I can see it too. Okay, I think the face is pretty good. We just need to clean up a few blends here and there. I mean, the zoom you saw was literally microscopical, so like nobody is ever gonna see the model from that close, but you know, we can be ambitious and try to clean things up as much as we can. Okay, and we can use ivory, sorry, not ivory, the ice yellow we had used, glaze it minusculely, and then just literally add the dots of it on the skin tone to create the shiniest reflections onto the skin. And we can use the very same color, a bit more thickly this time, to paint in the eyes. Once we paint the eyes, we're going to be able to really gauge if we like this skin tone or not. Okay. And with some black, I have Vallejo black on the palette. We can do the pupils. And we can also use the very same black to blackline the eyes. I'm gonna try to be in camera as much as I can so you can see it. That was a mistake. We fix it though. Okay. You can use a very dark reddish tone to paint the shadows underneath the eyebrows to make him look more dramatic. And also the color I'm using is wool red, by the way. Okay, and then we can fix any mistake we've done. For example, I got some paint on the eyes, so I'm just gonna go back and repaint it. Okay, let's check from up close. Kind of looks like Super Slot, but it's a thing with the sculpt, really, not with the paint job. Okay. We can make the eyes slightly bigger, I think. They might be too small. I mean, the pupils. They might be too small, and Okay. Okay. We can reinforce some of the ice yellow we painted earlier. Just give it a few more dots of it. Okay. Just checking the model from another point of view to see if I like it or not. I think it's pretty good. I like it. I like this skin tone. All right, so we can move on to the rest of the head. Just give me a second and we'll be working. Right, let's work on the hairs. I'm gonna be picking up the Scrofulous Brown. I'm gonna be adding black to it. I'm gonna be adding some ice yellow to it. And basically I made a gray here, so I'm gonna be adding more Scrofulous Brown until I'm happy that it looks sorta ochreish. We can add a bit more white to create ourselves a bit of a brighter ochre. It's a very desaturated ochre. It's a gray-green, pretty much. And we're going to be using this gray-green to base coat the hairs. He has platinum-colored hairs, so it is going to take a while. I'm just going to be base coating this, so I think we can skip this and I can show you the finished base coat. Okay, with our base coat achieved, we can highlight it one more, adding ice yellow to it. And we're also creating a mid-tone, so we want to saturate it a bit more so it looks like it is a mid-tone. So I'm going to be adding some Scrofulous Brown back into the mix to make these highlight brighter and slightly more saturated. Okay? And with this color, we can go and paint pretty much everywhere on the hairs except the recesses. So we can go around our model and just trying to be as precise as possible, painting up this color there. This is not yellow enough. Let me add a bit more Scrofulous. So I want it to turn into a yellow. It's a bit too green. Okay, this is better. Okay, we did it. Took me forever, but we base coated this new color on top of the previous one, avoiding the recesses as we established. I'm going to be going and adding even more ice yellow to the mix, and we're going to be doing our second highlight. that what we just painted is the mid-tone. So we're now actually highlighting. And we're going to be adding the color in, like so. A bunch of it, actually. Bit more yellow. And this very bright color will be our highlight for the hairs. So instead of painting it everywhere, we're going to be focusing on the areas where we feel like the sun would catch onto the hairs. By the way, if you have a keen eye, you will have noticed something. I'm going to wait a few seconds so that people who haven't noticed might, you know, think about it a bit more and tell you what it is. The thing is that the armor looks a lot more orangier now. And the reason why it does is because we have created another color to contrast against it, which is, by comparison, yellower, because there is a lot of yellow in this mix, right? So by comparison, we have more yellow now in the hairs than we have on the armor, so the orange color of the armor is popping more, which is why it's always a great idea to never call a detail finished until you are done with all of the details and you've checked if the colors match together properly and they do their job, because it's very common to be misled into thinking a detail works and then figuring out it doesn't, because after adding all the colors, it just doesn't work anymore, because this is part of a composition. It's not just detail plus detail plus detail plus detail equals model. No, it's more like everything together creates the model. So everything has to interact with itself and the other details. And it's important that you really think cleverly about this, because this is where color theory, this is where composition, choice of color and values and everything really matters and creates a massive difference in the quality of the paint job. As it is now, I do like this more orangier gold. It's extremely warm and I like it. I mean, I like also the cold highlights. I think I might want to add some more warm lights on the side of the chest. I might do that later on, but for now, we're good. So we're just gonna keep going and paint the rest of the model and then take a look at the end and see if our paint job works or doesn't. You don't have much of issues when you're painting Space Marines, because usually people start from armor. They paint the armor and then the other details, and very rarely does the armor feel like it has changed color, because it's such a big detail that the armor influences the paint job, not the other way around. But in cases like this guy, where there is a bit more stuff happening than just the armor, you can really see it happening. And like, if you do 75 mil minis, it happens even more. So this is interesting. I'm glad I could show it to you in a practical way, because explaining it theoretically is just difficult to understand, I feel like. But showing it, and it, like, if you go back and forth in the video and you go to the time before I painted the hairs and after, you will see that the armor looks like it was repainted almost, but I didn't. I swear on my life, I didn't touch the armor. It's a matter of contrast between the colors. So we are adding our highlight here, and we're gonna make it. I'm trying to follow the volumes in a sense that the hairs seem to be creating a bit of a rounded shape here. So I'm gonna be reinforcing that rounded shape. So we're gonna be having our main highlight on the face and around the face and on top of the head, and then this second highlight happening at the back of the hairs. I don't want to paint I mean, these are GW hairs, so they usually, you don't have much of a choice when it comes to painting them. They tend to look better when you just paint the entire thing one color and move on, because they are never really sculpted to look really good. And these ones, unfortunately, have the same issue, but I'm gonna try to make it as realistic as I can, or as illustrative as I can. Because after all, modern mini painting is a way to basically bring fantasy illustration to painting of minis. So we're looking to turn our paint job into a fantasy illustration. So because of that, I would like to have more stuff happening in the hairs than just, you know, a couple of colors slapped on top of each other. I want to create some volume here. Okay, because we're thinking about the front view, right? And the hairs in the back, which I am highlighting, they come up, they go up. So they are getting more light than the hairs beneath. Okay. And lastly, with pure ivory, sorry, it's not ivory, it's ice yellow. With pure ice yellow, we can go and paint the strongest light on our hairs, which would be the edges here, the top of the hairs here. All we gotta do is blend, but before we do that, I want to work a bit more on the face, because now that I have more lights on it, I can see that the face could use more light. Again, as we established. So I'm going back to the sunny skin tone mix, and I'm applying it a bit more with a bit more intention onto the model, because the face was starting to disappear in the background. Between the brightness of the armor and the brightness of the hair, the face was getting lost. So we need to rescue it. And again, the face was looking good when I did it, but now that we have all the details painted, the contrast is stronger. So the face also requires stronger contrast. And again, we can add ice yellow to sunny skin tone and really get our lights in there, because we need this skin to push forward a bit. And again, with pure ice yellow, we can create some stronger lights. Okay. Okay, much better now. I'm happy. Actually, I think I'm gonna be stopping here and we can do the sword and shield together and then the cape. Because I think this thing about the contrast between details and how I had to go back and forth after the hairs to paint the face again can actually show a lot of interesting things. All I have to do is just quickly blend the hairs. I'm just gonna paint an in-between color to blend and create a gradient. But I think the really thing to take away from this guide, from this video, is the idea that you're never finished unless you have painted the whole model. And I actually think that from this point forward, I will be starting my Patreon guides by after having base coated everything, so we can get started immediately with an idea of the colors. And I think I'll do that. All right, so thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next guide. Have a good one.